Hello to all Cinemaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. The movie begins with two brothers who have superpowers and are sleeping at night. Suddenly, one of them hears a sound coming from outside. He gets out of bed, grabs a large dagger, and goes to see what's happening. However, he starts sneaking outside through the window. At that moment, his brother also wakes up, goes outside, and runs into the forest. He is chased by large, strange-looking individuals called the Mogadorians. These are creatures that have come from another planet. One of them manages to catch him, takes his necklace, and kills him with the dagger, turning the young man into dust. The scene shifts to Daniel, the hero of the film, who is in the sea with two of his friends, enjoying themselves. Afterward, the three return to their shore and meet up with their other friends. At night, Daniel goes into the water with Nicole. Suddenly, Daniel is pulled underwater, and a circular mark on his leg starts glowing. Nicole sees this and gets scared, running off to tell the others on the shore that there is a monster. The next morning, Daniel wakes up to find himself lying alone on the ground. He looks at the three circular marks on his leg, with the last one still red, having formed the previous night. Henry, who is supposed to be Daniel's guardian, comes to him. Daniel tells him number 3 is dead because the third circle appeared. Henry asks if anyone else saw what happened, but Daniel doesn't respond because he was unconscious. They return home, and Henry removes all the photos of Daniel with his friends from the walls and burns them. He takes Daniel in the car, and they leave for another city. On the way, Daniel shares his thoughts, saying, "The hardest thing a person can face in life is being cut off from their friends because they saw his true self." He reveals that he is from another planet, not Earth, and that everyone assumes Henry is his father. But Henry is merely a warrior from his planet tasked with protecting him. Daniel explains the 3 marks on his leg. The first one appeared when he was 9 years old, marking the arrival of the Mogadorians on Earth. The second appeared when he was 12, signaling the death of number 2. The third mark appeared last night when number 3 was killed. Daniel is number 4, meaning he is next in line. Daniel and Henry move to a new house, where Henry gives him a new identity under the name John Smith. He warns him, saying, "Avoid getting to know anyone for now." Daniel tells Henry that he saw number 3 last night, felt his presence, and witnessed him being stabbed with the dagger. Henry decides they should move to another city, and they relocate to a place called Paradise. Upon arrival, Daniel starts unloading their belongings from the car. One of the Mogadorians, disguised as a lizard, spies on them near their house. While Daniel and Henry are talking, they hear a sound from outside. They go out to investigate and find a small dog sitting under a tree in the rain. Feeling sorry for it, Daniel decides to take it in and raise it, especially since he no longer has any friends. The scene shifts to number 6, who is in a similar situation as Daniel. She gathers her belongings from her house, leaves the gas on, sets the house on fire, and walks away as it explodes behind her. Back to Daniel. He prepares to go to school, but Henry is against it, worried about his safety. Daniel convinces Henry to let him go, promising to check in every hour. Henry agrees on the condition that if he doesn't hear from Daniel, he will make him study at home. Daniel goes to school under his new name, John Smith. The dog he found the previous night secretly follows him. At school, Daniel submits his enrollment form to the receptionist and waits in her office. Meanwhile, a girl named Sarah is in the principal's office to retrieve her camera, which was confiscated for taking unauthorized photos of her teacher during class. The receptionist hands Daniel his class schedule and asks Sarah to show him to his locker. Sarah leads Daniel to his locker, and he thanks her before she leaves. A boy named Marco and his friends, known as the school bullies, approach Daniel, mocking him. Another student named Sam comes to use the locker next to Daniel's, but Marco and his group push him, causing him to fall. Daniel notices this and realizes that Sam is their usual target, but he doesn't intervene. Later, during lunch break, Daniel avoids talking to anyone, as Henry had warned him. He sees Sam being targeted again, with Marco and his friends throwing a ball at him. Daniel steps in, helps Sam, and throws the ball back forcefully, knocking one of Marco's friends down. Sarah witnesses this and takes photos of the incident with her camera. Sarah uploads the photos of Daniel to the school's website, but they are quickly deleted by Henry, who confronts Daniel, saying, "I told you not to make friends. Stay hidden for your safety." Daniel remains silent. Meanwhile, the Mogadorians arrive at the beach where Daniel was earlier and discover that he is still alive. Back at school during a class, Daniel's hands begin to glow. The dog that followed him alerts Henry, who rushes to the school to check on Daniel. Henry explains to Daniel that this phenomenon is called the legacy. He tells him, "Your father was part of the Lorik Guard, and you inherited his powers. You are the only one among the 9 with this unique ability in your hands." Daniel and Henry return home, where Henry tells him, "Your strength and speed will increase, and you must learn to control them." As not to draw attention to himself, Daniel enters his room and tests the strength of his hands. Afterward, he goes outside the house entirely to test them further. Daniel throws a stone into the sky, and its strength pierces through the atmosphere. He then observes his speed in running and jumping. Meanwhile, the dog is also watching him without him noticing. Later, we go to the supermarket and find one of the intruders buying a freezer. He leaves and goes to his truck, which contains wild animals, and begins eating them. At this point, Daniel is standing in front of a shop, and Sarah is inside. He waits for her to come out, and they walk together, talk, and get to know each other. Daniel learns from her that photography is her whole life. While Daniel and Sarah are walking in the street, he notices that Sarah's stepfather is always scolding her, which might explain why she feels oppressed and weak. They continue walking until he takes her home. Sarah invites him to have dinner with her and her family, and he agrees. Inside, Daniel meets Sarah's family and feels very happy among them because he has no family of his own. Sarah takes him to her room and shows him the photos she has taken throughout her life. Through her pictures, Daniel realizes that Sarah dreams of traveling to many places, excuses. However, she tells him that staying at home is better than traveling. At that moment, Daniel hears his dog barking outside. He apologizes to Sarah, leaves to check on his dog, and then heads home. Meanwhile, Mark is sitting in his car in front of Sarah's house, spying on Daniel. The next day, Daniel goes to school and is met by Sam, who warns him that the whole school knows what happened to him the previous night. Daniel tries to mislead Sam by saying it was just a trick of light he performed with his hands. However, Sam still warns him to be careful because Mark likes Sarah and doesn't want anyone getting close to her. When Daniel and Sam open their lockers, a red sticky substance spills out onto them. They get very upset, realizing that Mark and his friends are behind it. Sam gets angry and attacks Mark, but Mark pushes him and is about to hit him when Daniel intervenes. Daniel restrains himself from hurting Mark or using his powers. He goes to the bathroom to clean himself off and notices Sam cleaning a photo of himself with someone else. Sam reveals to Daniel that the man in the photo is his real father, who spent his whole life searching for aliens, though people thought he was crazy. Meanwhile, Henry is on the internet researching Sam's father and discovers his old workplace. Henry goes to a factory-like location, which turns out to be Sam's father's old workplace. The ground beneath Henry begins to crack, and he finds a small hole containing a strange blue substance. He takes it with him to analyze and understand what it is. At this time, Daniel is preparing to attend a party with Sarah. He tells her that Mark warned and threatened him to stay away from her. Sarah tells Daniel that she broke up with Mark long ago and that he spread bad rumors about her at school, which everyone unfortunately believed. Daniel apologizes to her and asks about the most interesting part of the party. Sarah takes him to the haunted house, which is designed like a frightening forest. Suddenly, Mark and his friends attack them inside and try to kidnap Sarah. Daniel begins fighting them using his powers, but Mark still manages to abduct Sarah. Daniel searches for her and captures one of Mark's friends, beating him to learn Sarah's location. Sam witnesses everything and is astonished by Daniel's immense strength, realizing that Daniel is not human. Daniel finds Mark and rescues Sarah, taking her home as she requested. There, Daniel confesses his love for her before leaving. Shortly after, Daniel receives a message from Sam asking to talk about what happened at the haunted house. Daniel decides not to go, but instead meets Sam, who shares that he spent his childhood searching for aliens. Sam pleads with Daniel to tell him the truth if he is one of them, so he can know his father wasn't crazy. Daniel admits that Sam's father was right, making Sam very happy. Sam shows Daniel his father's car, which he found at the Mexican border, and reveals that aliens abducted his father and that he and his mother didn't abandon him as people believed. Daniel asks Sam to keep this a secret because he is in danger and the intruders are searching for him to kill him. Meanwhile, Mark's father, a police officer, visits Daniel's house and speaks with Daniel and Henry. He questions Daniel about the events at the haunted house, as some people, including Mark, were injured and Mark has refused to speak since the incident. Daniel claims he was busy with Sarah and didn't notice anything. Later, Henry tells Daniel they need to leave the area because the intruders are closing in. However, Daniel refuses, saying he won't keep moving from place to place his whole life. He leaves the house and Henry follows him. Daniel uses his powers to push Henry away, but Henry grabs him and pins him to the ground, saying they have spent years protecting him and he shouldn't throw it all away for a girl. Daniel replies that he tried to stay away from Sarah but couldn't. At the same time, Number 6 is among a group of satellites, watching a scene of Daniel in the water. She smiles, realizing he is still alive. The next morning, Daniel wakes up to find Henry missing. He calls Henry's phone, but someone else answers and tells him to come to a specific address if he wants to see Henry. Daniel hangs up and calls Sam, asking him to take him to the address. Daniel and Sam meet and head to the location where Henry is being held. Daniel gets out of the car alone and tells Sam to go home. As Daniel approaches the house to observe it from the outside, he finds Sam behind it, refusing to leave. They see a man locking the house door and driving away. Daniel asks Sam to follow the man and text him if he returns. Sam complies and tails the man. Meanwhile, Daniel enters the house and finds Henry's dagger. He searches the entire house and eventually finds Henry in the basement. Suddenly, someone attacks Daniel, but he fights back and defeats them. Henry informs Daniel that it is a trap and that the intruders are on their way. At that moment, the man Sam was following returns, holding Sam hostage at gunpoint, and Henry, when he sees Sam, realizes that he is Malcolm's son. But Daniel goes and hits the man and finds out from him that the Mogadorians are after him. He and Henry leave the house, and as they are stepping out, one of the Mogadorians attacks them. Henry tries to hold him off with a fight to give Daniel a chance to escape. Daniel gets into the car with Sam, but the keys have fallen out, so Daniel tries to start the car without the key. The Mogadorians attack them again, and Henry, who had gone out to protect Daniel, gets seriously injured and is near death. Henry gives Daniel the blue stone and tells him that it will lead him to the other 5, and that they must unite to face the Mogadorians. Henry dies. Afterward, the police come to Daniel and confiscate the devices and computers there, accusing him and Henry of terrorism. In the car, Sam sees the blue stone with Daniel and tells him he has the other half of it, explaining that it belonged to his father a long time ago. Daniel asks Sam to bring him the other half of the stone. Sam leaves, and Daniel goes to look for Sarah at a party. He finds her and tells her he has come to say goodbye. The police arrive at the party, so Daniel takes Sarah and they escape completely. At the same time, Mark and his father, the officer, are in the car looking for Daniel, but they encounter the Mogadorians on the way. They kill his father and take Mark with them to show them where Daniel is. Meanwhile, Daniel and Sarah are hiding in the school, developing the photos under Sarah's camera. After a while, the Mogadorians arrive at the school and surround it. Sam is waiting in the car outside the school. Sam calls Daniel and warns him that the Mogadorians have surrounded them. Daniel looks out the window and sees that that they have Mark with them. Daniel takes Sarah to escape, but then the girl known as Number 6 appears. She starts helping them and tells Daniel that the person who was protecting her, someone like Henry, was killed by the Mogadorians. The three of them try to escape from the school. Inside Sam's car, suddenly the creatures raised by the Mogadorians emerge. In seconds, Daniel's dog transforms into a creature like them. Sam escapes and goes to Daniel, who is with Sarah at the time, while Number 6 is still inside the school. Sam tells them what happened outside. Before Daniel can ask him about the appearance of these creatures, they attack them through the window, along with the Mogadorians. One of the creatures chases Daniel, but suddenly Daniel's dog, who is also transformed into a large dog, runs after it. The creatures are very strong against Daniel. Daniel tries to resist them, but Number 6 has run out of energy. She asks Daniel to recharge her energy using the power of his hands. Daniel does so, and she returns stronger than ever. Together, they fiercely face the Mogadorians and their creatures. At that moment, Daniel's dog attacks one of the creatures and kills it. It turns out the dog, like Henry, was also helping Daniel and returns to its normal form. As they are leaving, another creature attacks them, and the Mogadorians are waiting for them outside. Sam and Sarah get scared and hide again. Daniel and Number 6 confront the Mogadorians and defeat several of them, but the creature manages to capture Number 6. Daniel fights it with the power of his hands, but one of the Mogadorians grabs Daniel by the neck and lifts him. Daniel focuses his thermal energy on the bullets the Mogadorians use, causing the entire place to explode. Number 6 defeats the creature and rescues Daniel before the explosion, eliminating the Mogadorians completely. Afterward, Daniel, Sam, Number 6, and Sarah gather together. Sam brings the other half of the stone, and they combine the two halves, but the stone gets completely destroyed. At that moment, Mark arrives and gives Daniel a box that belonged to Henry, which the police had confiscated from the house. The box will help Daniel find the other 4 superhumans and unite with them. Before leaving, Daniel promises Sarah that he will return to her. Daniel's dog appears injured, so he takes the dog with him as he leaves. The movie ends. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more new videos. See you next time.